Hi everyone, welcome to ELI, the place where you get your daily dose of inspiration for entrepreneurship. And today we have with us Mr. Chandra Shekhar Chitrala, who is the founder of Catalyst IT Solutions. Shekhar is a graduate of Xavier Institute of Management, Bhubaneswar. Hi Shekhar, welcome to Entrepreneur Lounge of India.
Hi. Thank you for having me here.
Shekhar, I would request you to introduce yourself to our audience, please.
Okay, as Ranjan has said, my name is Chandra Shekhar. I have been an entrepreneur for more than 25 years, I say. I mean, in terms of organizations and things like that. But I think entrepreneurship is something that you don't need to start an organization. It's an attitude, it's the way you look at things. Even if you're in a job, if you have an entrepreneurial mindset, you take ownership of whatever you're doing, and that in turn helps you do well in whatever you're doing, which is why entrepreneurship and the spirit of entrepreneurship is so important today. We cannot continue, having a 9 to 5 mentality and feeling that, okay, I just go to a job to, earn a salary, because then what happens is you don't grow, your organization doesn't grow. It's a lose-lose for everybody. You have an entrepreneurial spirit, whether it's your own organization or an organization that you're working for, you
Hmm.
put in your best because you take ownership of the results. You take the ownership of whatever is happening,
Hmm.
and that contributes everywhere.
Hmm. So, talking about entrepreneurs, as per you, what would be the definition of an entrepreneur?
Mm, definitions sometimes, we think they are bookish, or there's something that we need to study, remember, and things like that. I don't think of entrepreneurship is in that way. It is, as I said, it's an attitude. It's uh, when you instinctively look for solutions, when you instinctively look for better ways of doing things, when you instinctively are able to spot opportunities, that is entrepreneurship. So I don't think it has necessarily to do with owning an enterprise.
Hmm.
It is an attitude. That is the way I look at it. And it can, you need not be 18 years or whatever, adult or whatever. It can be even as a young child, you can be an entrepreneur if you have the attitude.
All right. Shekhar, tell us a bit about your venture, Catalyst IT Solutions.
Okay, Catalyst IT Solutions came into being in 2005 as a private limited company. I was working, I had a proprietorship company before that, uh, from 94. So Catalyst IT Solution was basically, when we converted it into a limited company for the sake of whatever, growth and ease of, not ease actually, because you make life much more, complicated when you launch a private limited company as compared to a proprietorship or partnership. But basically, the idea was that we provide services, IT services, because as a part of the previous organization, we were one of the first people to launch a website, I think way back in 96 in Odisha. At that point of time, I think we were one of the first to do so. The first one, in fact, the tourism department, we created the entire website, went to them and told them, look, we have a website for the tourism of Odisha. Let's work with together. So first government department to have a website was the Odisha Tourism Department, and that website, odisha-tourism.com, went on to do a very, very good job in the initial stages for Odisha. Starting from websites, we went on to developing applications. So we have developed applications for a variety of organizations, both in India and abroad.
Hmm.
Currently, we have applications running in the railways, OMC, various organizations. So these applications, as we started developing them, we developed an application for an organization in the US for something called XBRL, that is Extensible Business Reporting Language. So this, for those who know, for in India also it has been introduced. It's basically a system of reporting, financial reporting,
Hmm.
to the MCA
Hmm.
by companies.
Hmm.
So right now in India, there is a limit, I think 500 crores or something. If the turnover is more than that, then you have to report an XBRL. The idea is
Hmm.
that with XBRL, your business information is translatable, is put in a machine readable format. For example, right now we do upload, your balance sheets and profit loss and all that, but they are not truly machine readable. So the entire details of the balance sheet, or profit and loss statement, or cash flow, they are not readable by machine.
Hmm.
So this had been implemented in the US much earlier. So we developed a solution for the US company, and then when it came to India, India started adopting XBRL. We created a solution, that was the first solution that we created, called XBRL Connect. Now, for whatever reason, that didn't really take off, because I think various factors. But that is when we realized that there's a lot of many products that we could generate based upon the solutions or services that we have developed. So we've created products for newspapers and magazines. We've created products for the hospitality sector, complete 360-degree hospitality
Hmm.
package we have. Then we have created something for Kiranas. We've called it Kirana ERP. So that is another full-fledged system for Kirana stores. So that way we've developed a variety of products that we
Hmm.
have for through Catalyst IT Solutions.
Hmm.
So that is, and right now we are doing both actually. We have products and we also have the services that we are rendering to
Hmm.
clients, the application development, a few legacy websites, things like
Hmm.
that.
Right.
Right.
So, Chandra, here is my question. I think you have worked in IT domain. You have been a founder of an IT company. Uh, so these days, not many of the entrepreneurs are thinking of building an IT company. In fact, most of the IT companies that we see today were built in 90s. TCS, Infosys talk about Sonata Software, or be it just any software company uh, which has a software or IT element in it. They were all started in 90s, and after that, we don't see many IT companies coming up. What might be the reason behind it? Why entrepreneurs are not going into IT? In fact, I'd like to ask if my data is correct, or how is it?
It's an interesting question. See, basically, the way I look at it, most of the startups that we have, or new organizations, they use IT. I mean, see, the thing
Hmm.
is, IT, uh, again, back in the 90s or early 2000s and things like that, it was, we didn't have so many people in it. We had, and India, we were mostly service providers, back-end service providers. In fact, if you remember, the actual IT boom in the country took off due to Y2K. You know, Infosys, all these companies grew because of the Y2K problem. And when that is
Hmm.
when we had a lot of manpower that we could throw at this problem, and to manually go and change to the COBOL code and things like that.
Hmm.
And in fact, even today, our IT industry is mostly into services.
Hmm.
Now you come to a very interesting point, that is the product market.
Exactly.
You're right, because we do not have many famous product companies. We do have a few of them. For example, Zoho is one, a
Hmm.
couple of others also. They
That's
create
what.
products for
Yeah.
us. Yeah. So, see, the thing with the product company or a product, yeah, is it requires a lot of funding,
Hmm.
right? Because with services, what happens is it's very simple. You have billable hours, and then you bill the client, and you get your money. With a product company, what happens is there's a lot of R&D that goes into it. There are a lot of pivots that you have to make. So many, because we as a product company, we have known success, but we have also known failure.
Hmm.
And if you analyze the reason for failure, it's very simple. It's just that a product requires a hell of a lot of more money and time than you originally anticipate,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
For example, other products that we had, the Kirana ERP product that we had, I mean, it was all ready to go, and then GST came in. So automatically, because it's an ERP product which includes accounting and things, we had to redo the entire taxation portion of it,
Hmm.
right? Now, when you redo the taxation portion of it, if you remember in the initial days, early days of GST, rules were changing left, right, and center. Even today, we still haven't, finalized all the returns and the way they are going to be filed, and the way the entire system is supposed to work. Now, that automatically impacts your product. Now, similarly, this is just an example that I'm giving. In any product that you develop, what happens? You have to cater to these things. You have to cater to, you have to have deep pockets, because
Hmm.
by the time your revenue starts coming, it takes a lot of time. India, we have been spoilt by a culture of free software
Hmm.
since time immemorial. We have been pirating software, starting from Windows to Linux to PowerPoint. Tally grew because of it allowed piracy to a great extent. And
Hmm.
once everybody got used to that, the chartered accountant, so then when they started charging for it, they didn't mind paying for it, because they were so used to it, they couldn't shift to another platform even if it was free,
Hmm.
right?
Right.
So for Tally to succeed, they had to work for so many years without revenue,
Hmm. Hmm.
right? So that is one aspect which, for example, ecosystem that is there, for example, in the US,
Hmm.
there you have, it's much more stable. It's much more, they are aware of these problems. The investors don't start crying for returns, after third year, fourth year. They know that, okay, product development will need extra funding.
Hmm. Hmm.
It will need growth.
Hmm.
For growth, you need initial subsidization. It doesn't work otherwise. And that in a country where they are used to paying for everything, where there's almost absolutely zero piracy,
Hmm.
right? Here, people first look for, how can I use it for free without paying for it?
Hmm.
Okay, it's something that we've been, I mean, now, of course, slowly, people are paying for it. But then if you see, for example, a laptop, if you're buying it with Windows, it's fine. But if you bought a non-Windows laptop, how many people go out and buy Windows?
Hmm.
They'd, ask that guy to, boss, thoda load kar de, ya office load kar de, you know. So when,
Right.
so that it happens. You cannot deny that. So we have to live with that,
Right.
right?
Second, my point was, in fact, quite opposite. So what I am saying is, what I was saying is, not in India only, but from a global point of view, many companies are coming up with products rather than, they are uh, rather than building service-based companies. So if you look at the how many new products have hit the market, new IT based or SaaS based products have hit the market. If you compare them with how many IT companies have come up in last year, it would be hell and heaven, right? So there are a couple of pointers here I would like to debate on. Is it that products are going to be new feature and IT service companies are of course the Indian IT service companies are doing very well and quite profitable right now, but how does the future look like for these sort of companies? That is number one. Also, why Indian companies have restricted to IT only? I think you have already mentioned the tendency of using free free tools or free products. That is number one. Also, what I have heard from many entrepreneurs is that Indian people uh, lack the risk appetite or risk taking abilities, and building a product requires a lot of risk compared to building a service based company. So what do you think future what do you think about the future? Is it going to be products, or is it going to be services, or will there be a mix of both?
It's a very interesting question. See, why did why are we successful in terms of services? We are successful for the primary reason that we have an arbitrage in terms of cost of manpower,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
The cost of manpower in India versus cost of manpower in say the US is ridiculously inexpensive compared to that. So which is why we were able to get a hold in that market, and which is how we are surviving. For example, any overseas contract, we're surviving basically on that arbitrage,
Hmm.
right? Now, in terms of risk taking abilities, see, I think we have risk taking abilities. I think in any society, you have people who have the ability to take risk, and you have the people who do not prefer to take risk, who would prefer a more stable career, right?
Hmm.
Now, in terms of a business, now if you have clients who are looking to services,
Hmm.
you would obviously set up a service-based company providing services. For example, we do services also. We provide websites, we develop applications for clients and things like that. Right. Now, risk-taking ability and product development, yes, there's absolutely a very nice relationship between these two, because without the ability to take a risk, you will never try to develop a product. It is a risk. Any development that you do and you say that, okay, I'm going to launch it into a market, it could be an IT product, it could be a non-IT product, it could be
Hmm.
anything, it could
Hmm.
be a sanitizing machine, it could be whatever.
Right.
The moment you're saying that I'm going to develop something of my own and put it into the market, there is a huge risk that you need to take in. And we need to develop the entrepreneurial ecosystem along with the investment ecosystem,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
Now, the investment ecosystem, we are still, I would say we are not mature. We are still in the juvenile stage
Hmm.
where, yes, there are certain investors or groups of investors who have that maturity to understand investment.
Hmm.
There are many, most are looking at it as, for example, investing in a startup or a new company or a new product idea.
Hmm. Hmm.
You have to have both, the risk taking capability. You have to also have the patience
Hmm.
for long timelines,
Right.
right? Now, if you see the Indian context and the system that we have imported from the West,
Hmm.
the VC system that we have, venture capitalists and angels and things like that. Now, in the US, where it has been developed, uh, the system is such that when a venture capitalist invests in a company,
Hmm.
right, now he knows that 9 out of the 10 companies he's going to invest in will flop. They will not succeed.
Right. Hmm.
He knows that. Okay. So, which is why every company that he invests in, he tries to ensure that the company has a product which has a scalability, which will ensure that even if that one company out of the 10 succeeds, he gets return enough to be able to give some dividend to the people who have invested in his fund,
Hmm. Right.
right? So this is a very important thing that many of us don't understand for a VC culture,
Hmm.
right? Because there are two things that are very important here. One is failure will be there, right? In India, we have stigmatized failure. If a
Okay.
person fails, there is a huge stigma attached to it. Even today, if you see, for example, take Anil Ambani.
Hmm.
He is, a poster boy for failure, let's say, today in India.
Right. Right.
Everybody Nobody hesitates to say, look, his brother has made such a huge success and this fellow has failed miserably.
Hmm.
That in itself tells you that we do not have a system where we respect failure, because without failure there is no success. And in business, in any business, it could be a startup, it could be an established business, there are so many factors at play. There is luck, there is so many other things that are there. And when an investor or when an entrepreneur is venturing out, he is accepting, he's shouldering those burdens, right?
Hmm.
Today we have a system where if a company is going under loss, so automatically you assume that the business owner is a criminal,
Hmm.
right? This does not happen in the US or any developed market, because we do not equate failure with criminality,
Right.
right? So that is one thing that our system needs to understand. And this is not just it includes the bureaucracy, it includes the politicians, it includes the general public. We all need to understand that when an entrepreneur fails, it is not that he has committed a crime or he's done something wrong, because
Exactly.
that sends a wrong signal to the new generation,
Hmm.
right? Second thing is in terms of a VC level funding. In terms of a VC level funding, you should not go for a VC funding. You should not expect VC funding if your product does not have the ability to scale and scale at a huge level, because otherwise, that returns in thousands of percent.
Hmm.
If they're not there, a VC will not want to look at it, because, as I said, he has to see that each company that he invests in, if it succeeds, should have the capability to give him 1,000 to 1,000% returns, so that if the other nine fail, it will make up. He'll be able to give a 18 to 20% dividend to his investors. Okay, so these are two things that at least in terms of the venture investing and something that entrepreneurs need to understand. We have a good idea, it will definitely be a good business. But if it does not have the ability to scale, you may not receive VC funding. You may receive angel funding, but
Hmm.
VC funding may not come.
Right. I think rightly pointed out. We need a ecosystem uh, who is willing to accept failures. Uh, so here comes my next question, Shekhar. I think you have been into entrepreneurship for a long, long time. Um, when was your first day of entrepreneurship, and what was it like? What was your first? How the day was, the first day, if you can remember.
First, first day of entrepreneurship, I think I was in class 8. A friend of ours had just returned from Russia. So
Hmm.
he brought with him a set of slides, of some cartoon, something.
Okay.
We didn't know the language, we didn't know anything, but anyway, he had a set of slides. So me and that boy and another friend, we got together, we created a slide. We had no slide projector, so with a carton
Hmm.
and Vim used to come in a cylindrical tube.
Hmm.
With that, and we bought some lenses, magnifying glasses, put
Okay.
them together, created a projector, and we charged 25 paisa from the other people, other children in the
Oh,
locality, and gave them a slideshow. Okay, so that was my first entrepreneurial venture, if you say. I think we made a profit around 8 rupees or 9 rupees.
oh, very interesting. Uh, so, how did you build your team of your how did you build your core team, and if you have any co-founders, how did you meet them and uh, convince and deploy your vision into them?
Okay, so basically my growth has been very, very organic. I started at a time when funding for business, unless you were, connected to a business family or you had political or bureaucratic linkages, getting funding was almost impossible. Right. So I had to grow with whatever resources were available with me. And so it was a very, very organic growth, starting from one developer, two developers, three developers. That way we grew. In terms of co-founders, I don't have co-founders as such, but yes, a few friends found the products that we were creating interesting, and bought shares in the company, and they are there as shareholders. And again, it is see, why does a shareholder person invest in a company? For two things. One is they feel that the product has a chance of success,
Hmm.
and second, they know you,
Right.
right? Or they know the person who is recommending an investment. So that is how you get investors in the first place. At
It,
least that's the way it works in India. Yeah, right now what has happened is over the last few years, a system has developed. We have network of Indian Angel network and things like that, and you have access to other investment options other than the traditional bank or NBFC. So yes, that is there. In fact, I am starting out a new venture aside from Catalyst. So I am again a hopeful startup enthusiast right now. We're still building the MVP. So hopefully we should start creating the organization and building a separate team for that, and looking for investment options,
hmm.
things like that.
Can you tell us a bit about what you are building, if you want to?
Yeah, sure, sure. See, basically, this is an idea, or this is a concept that came to me around 4 years ago,
Okay.
uh, as a concrete idea, but it has been there in my mind for a very, very long time, ever since the time my children were born.
Okay.
Okay. So basically, what happens is when you go to visit a doctor, for example, if you go to a radiologist, you need to get, when a lady is pregnant and she goes for ultrasound,
Hmm.
right? So there, they have to drink water and make sure that the bladder is full so that the ultrasound can get an image. Now, that is a very uh, dicey time, because what happens is you are waiting for the ultrasound to, take place, and in the meanwhile, if you are unable to control your bladder, you go urinate, and then again the waiting process starts, right? So my concept was, is there, if we could have a service being offered, and uh, you have clients who have to wait, right? So that is when I bought a domain name called meranumber.com. Basically, there was a ye ki mera number kab aayega, mera number aayega. So based on that, so we've created a system where you have customers who can book a service or book appointments, and it ensures two things. One is it ensures that you do not need to wait. Second is that you can actually get a confirmed booking, right? It's a combination of these two, and we are trying to make it in a very, very easy and user friendly manner for both the service providers and uh, customers. So that in gist is basically what meranumber.com is.
How do you suggest our audience to start their journey into entrepreneurship?
Uh, See, frankly speaking, today entrepreneurship uh, much, much more easier than it was, say, 20 years back or even 10 years back, right? Because there is much more acceptability, and there is a huge scope that is available in terms of the facilities that are provided, be it incubation, be it to make try it out. You have so many more options available. So I would always suggest you try it out, take a risk, because the way things are at the moment, if you do not do it, if you do not try to become an entrepreneur, if you do not become a job creator rather than a job seeker. Given the scenario we are in, within the next 20 years, uh, we may face a very, very critical situation. As you are aware, we keep reading about it in terms of how automation is increasing, how AI is getting more prevalent, machine learning. They're all very, very distant concepts. We feel we will never get affected by that.
Right.
Uh, the entire arbitrage that we have of low cost manpower will go away within the next 10 years. We will
Exactly.
not have we have I know there's a friend of mine who runs an organization, and he's actually created applications which can write software. So
Hmm.
even if you're a software developer, even your role is under threat. Already we see roles like testing, customer support, they're all being replaced by software, AI driven software. Now when that happens, we are going to come into a huge problem. See, what youngsters need to understand is there is going to be a huge paradigm shift in the next 10 to 15 years.
Hmm.
Things that we feel will never change will change. Okay, already because of technology, we have lost a lot of job opportunities. Now,
Hmm.
if you see the maximum opportunities for graduates or young people, where are they getting the opportunities? They're getting into either delivery roles for Zomato, Swiggy, whatever, or they're becoming
Hmm.
drivers in Ola, Uber, something like that, right? Because what are the opportunities that are there that are in a large scale? Manufacturing, see, I will give you an example. For example, when Rourkela steel plant came, a whole township came up along with it. That were the
Hmm.
number of employees that were generated. In Kalinganagar, when the Tata plant came up, it has a much, much larger capacity than the Rourkela steel plant. But they have how many? 3,000 to 5,000 employees.
Exactly.
That's all. That's all.
Hmm.
So manufacturing, you will have automation taking over, even in small scale. See, for example, the disruption that we've had now due to the COVID and migration and things like that. Believe me, there will be manufacturers who will be looking at how to automate these roles so that they are no longer at the mercy of labor. It will happen. If
Hmm.
you're a business owner, then you have been affected because you don't have labor, you will look at solutions where you can replace,
Right.
right? And it is not going to cost much. So if you see opportunities for employment or opportunities for earning a living are going to come down.
Hmm.
Yes, the only place where it will go up is where you have a whole lot of uh, mental ability, you know, very, very high level thinking. Those are the areas where we will need people, where people will be employed. But then, are we preparing our younger generation for that? Unfortunately, no, we are not.
Hmm.
Right. So now, if you look at a scenario, try to look at a scenario, say 15 years from now. Do you think you will have stable employment? See, for a person who is graduating right now, 15 years from now, he will be at a stage where he will have a wife or a husband, a spouse, and
Hmm.
children, maybe school children. He will have maybe liabilities. At that point of time, if you lose your job, if you lose your employment opportunity, what are you going to do? The
Right.
only way you can prepare yourself for that is by inculcating an entrepreneurial attitude so that you do not have to depend on a job.
Hmm.
Even the job that you're doing, if you do it with an entrepreneurial attitude, the chances that you will be able to retain your job will be much, much higher than if you take it as a 9 to 5, thing that you have to do,
Hmm.
right? Things that we need to prepare for the next 10 to 15. In terms of computing ability, let me tell you that by 2029, it is estimated that $1,000 computer will be able to have the ability of a human brain.
Oh, that
A
is
thousand
interesting.
dollar, yes, in the next 9 years. That is the pace at which we are increasing, both in terms of hardware as well as in software. So the combination. So you can imagine things that a man can do, or a woman can do, can be done by $1,000 computer.
Mm.
Look at that point of view. So if you're not preparing yourself for that, if you're not, it's not just in a question of your education or what subjects you're learning. It is in a question. It is how you prepare yourself mentally in terms of the attitudes that you have. You have to have an entrepreneurial, because at that point of time, if you do not have that, you will be lost. You will not uh, find. You'll find it very very difficult to survive. And I'm talking about people who have a amount of learning or whatever, certain amount of education. Okay. If you don't, okay, then the only thing that is available for you is manual labor. See, for example, see the amount of tension that is there in, say, the areas where our migrants have come in. They've been asked to do Manrega work. Now, he's a skilled person, right? Now he's being asked to dig ditches. He naturally they protest. They say, no, we don't want this. We have learned a trade. We are skilled, right? But that is a future that we will come to for everybody if we do not prepare ourselves. Right? Slightly foreboding, but I think it is something that we need to keep in mind. It is not today, tomorrow. We need to look at, event horizons of 10, 15, 20 years to
Mm.
prepare our career for.
Right. I think couple of interesting points you raised. One is we are about 10 years away from losing all our manual jobs, or jobs that can be replaced by a machine. Uh, so, and also it is a necessity. It has become a necessity to become an entrepreneur. And one of the great leaders, his name is Neville Ravikant. He came to Joe Rogan show, and I heard him saying, quote and unquote, uh, uh, in 10 years time, the number of years I'm not sure about, but in some time, we will see a job market where everybody would be working for on their own, or working for themselves, rather than working for corporations. Even if they are working for companies, but then it would be very small companies, comprising of 10 people or 15 people, right? So yeah, even your points are pointing towards the same direction. And I see the way things are happening around. I see, yeah, it is possible and it is happening, right? So on that note, I think we have come to the end of our discussion, and very interesting points you raised. Anything else you want to share before we end this discussion?
I would just like to say thank you so much for having me on your show. I will definitely look forward to more videos from you. I would like to keep watching them. And yes, the only thing I would like to end the show saying, with anybody who sees this, try to develop an entrepreneurial attitude. Most likely you will need it.
Right.
Take care, stay safe.
Uh, well, it was a pleasure to host you here at ELI. I think our audience would have got lifetime lessons from this video. Thanks for your time, Shekhar, and our best wishes for Catalyst and the new venture you are building.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.
Viewers, viewers, you can follow and connect with Shekhar on LinkedIn by searching for Chandra Shekhar Chitrala. Also, do visit their website by searching for citspl.com. Do let me know in comments below whom do you want to have here at ELI for next episodes. We will be back before you know it. Stay tuned to Entrepreneur Launch of India.